Welcome. Happy Thursday. Hello, everybody. Today, last day of January. Happy to be here with you guys. How are you?
Good,
Hey,
good.
Carlos, pretty good. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining tonight. We're going live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube as well. And we're going live because we think it's a good time right now to actually go into a little bit of details on what are some of the common maintenance that are typically needed, right? A lot of people are possibly thinking about buying a house this year, and we feel that a lot of them are first-time homeowners, don't really have the experience, and all these things. Yeah, once you are into a house, it's just common logic, right? A lot of these things we hear from the news and from friends, and just basically from past experience. But for these first-time home buyers, they sometimes they haven't really got their hands wet into home maintenances. And I think it's a big topic. It could save you thousands of dollars in the long run. So I brought this panel of experts here. I got Colin with Panther Inspections. He's one of my preferred inspectors. I met Colin through my networking group, BNI. And so happy to have you here, Colin. Thank you for joining. We got Raul Palacios as well. Raul Palacios from Temperature Pro, also a member of BNI, the networking group, and he's gonna be the person to talk to for anything HVAC, anything ACs, heating and cooling. These guys are the experts. They do excellent job, and so happy to have you guys. Raul and Kerry, husband and wife, they're the owners of the company. So thank you for being here, Raul. And we got Lila. Lila, especially close to me because she's with Austin 101 Realty, and she's the manager, the main person there at Austin 101 Realty, dealing with property management. And I think she's a good fit in today's panel because, Austin 101 currently manages over 200 and something doors. How many doors, Lila?
I think it's 227, if I'm not mistaken.
227. So that's a lot of homes to maintain, right? And who do the tenants call when something goes wrong, when something breaks, right? They call the property management company, right? They call Lila and her team at Austin 101. So I thought Lila would be a perfect fit for tonight's live, so that maybe she can share some of the experiences she has, with tenants, and some of the typical calls that she receives, from tenants. So anyways, welcome everybody. I think I hope everybody's safe at home and their families are safe, because we get a little bit of cold weather here in Austin, Texas, and especially the north area. I live in Round Rock. I think most of you guys are north. Oh, except for you, Lila. I think you're a little bit south. But we get this cold weather and everything shuts down, right? People don't typically know how to drive in these conditions, so they close schools, they close businesses, and everybody was kind of working from home tonight. And my kids didn't get to go to school today or tomorrow. Also, they cancel for tomorrow as well. So I hope everybody's doing great. How are you guys?
Good.
Very good. Thank you for the invitation,
Awesome.
Carlos.
Yeah, thank you as well.
All right. Well, let's get started. I know there's a lot of things to discuss, so I am gonna get started with Raul Palacios tonight, okay? Because right now, the cold weather is here, and typically you notice, that the AC doesn't work in the summer, right? Or it stops working, and then during the cold weather, the winter, you also see, the HVAC, the heater doesn't work. So what are some of the maintenances, Raul, that some of the little tips that you can give the first-time home buyers? Basically, this is all focused for first-time home buyers. People never own a home before. They might know about changing filters, but that's about it. And I think it's maybe you can give us some nuggets on what are some of the common things that you see that could be prevented if they just knew about it, right? And I'll be honest with you, just recently, and I had a home for many years, and I purchased my first home in 2004. And just last year, I learned about washing the condenser outside, where the condenser, like just put the pressure, the water pressure, the hose next to it. And when I did that, man, all this muddy water was coming out of it. It's just a filter, right? But I was like, oh my God, like honestly, I mean, I had it for 20 years and and yeah, almost 20 years, and I just learned about this. And I know that's a big thing for AC, right? So what else could you recommend to us, Raul, and to all the viewers right now?
Sure. As a homeowner, there's so many little things you can do. For example, right now, because it's hot, it's cold right now, so you might want to make sure your furnace is working properly, right? And one of the first things we recommend is do maintenance in your furnace. A lot of people don't turn the furnace for months, and then when the first cold weather comes in, they turn on and something happened. They smell something, right? So that means that there's a little dust there. So you can actually go there and clean out a little bit, and it goes away. So also heat pumps. Right now the temperature is really low. It's below 30 degrees. So a lot of heat pumps are not working properly because there's no heat to pull from the outside. So what you have to do as a homeowner, go to your thermostat and change that to backup heat strips. So that will help to heat the house without the heat pump. A lot of people run out of problems saying, oh, we don't have any heat. Well, because you have probably a heat pump and it's not producing any heat, right? And that's a simple fix that you can go to your thermostat and do it. One of the other things that you mentioned about the debris around the condenser, that is always happening. People mow the yards and all that debris goes and gets stuck there. So yes, you can just go with the hose and rinse it, get the debris out. That helps to the condenser to breathe, right? And also bushes. If there's people, they don't care. There's bushes around the systems, so it's very important to trim that to make sure there's enough airflow, because it's like your lungs, right? If they don't have enough airflow, it's not gonna be efficient. You're gonna see those electrical bills going up. So things like that, little things like that, it help. Of course, your drain system, right? I mean, the bacteria is a live organism, and it grows in the drain, right? So the coil was made to sweat that humidity out of the environment and flush it through the drain system. And if you don't clean that properly, it gets stuck. So the water overflow and could damage your attic, or could damage your closet. So we usually recommend half cup of water, half cup of vinegar, and you just wash it. If you do that every month, you should be fine.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, filters. We see tons of homeowners, they don't replace the filters. I mean, it's just a bad habit. I mean, sometimes happened to me. So one of the things that we recommend is get one of those automated systems that you can go online and schedule you filter delivery every month, every 2 months, every 3 months. And as soon as that filter shows at the door, replace it. That's your reminder to do it. Right now, because furnaces are working all the time, that's gas. So make sure your CO2 detector is working. Test it. Make sure, because that furnace is always working now, right? So you want to make sure the gas is not leaking, or there's not things like that. And it's very easy. Just go test it. If you hear the beep, just replace the batteries, right? This is one of those things. Your thermostat is very important right now. It's just little things like that you can save a lot of energy. If you're not at home, you want to program that thermostat to have decent temperature. What I mean by that is 75 or 80, right? You don't want to be cold or too hot when you're not there. You use burning more energy that you need it, right? And that all trickles down to you AC, right? And what I tell people, AC is the biggest appliance in your house.
Mhm.
So if you don't take care of it, it's gonna fail. It's like oil change for your car. You have to make sure you do that maintenance every 3 6 months or whatever. For us, we have a preventive maintenance system that we go every 6 months, make sure you're ready for the summer, make sure you're ready for the winter. So we go through all these checkpoints to make sure your AC is up and running. Another thing that I see very common with first homeowners is that they don't control sometimes the temperature in the top level, like people have second floor, right? So if you program your thermostat right, you can actually control that, and you will save energy, right? So you have to put some think into it so you can save money in the long run. But yeah, take care of the AC. It's one of those things that people don't care much until actually something happened and they're
Exactly.
calling us, right? And everything is now, right? So be
We
proactive,
yeah.
order your preventive maintenance, and we can help you out.
We cannot live without the AC, like you said. I mean, it is the biggest appliance in the house, in the home, but it's yeah, we just assume it's working and everything needs to be working. But when it's not working, we can live a day or 2 days here in Texas
Yeah,
without an AC.
Panic.
It's
right.
just
Panic.
recently, and I'll share a personal experience. Just recently, my AC had to be changed, and the way that it works is I have this home warranty, so I was trying to go everything through the home warranty. It was months and months and months before they actually came to the home to actually replace the outside unit. And honestly, I wasn't very happy with it because they even put a different brand. Anyways, long story short, I kept calling Raul for advice on this. I'm like, hey, Raul, I know I'm not using your company, right? Because I have this home warranty. I know I'm sorry, but he helped me so much. And he sent technicians to my home just to validate and confirm what the issue was. Because these other companies they sent a total of 4 different AC companies, this home warranty.
Wow.
And I got different stories, different uh,
Diagnosis.
uh, causes, like different root cause, different things from everybody's. That's why it took the whole process long, because everybody that will send it will be a different root cause. And I finally called Raul Palacios, and he came and he gave me this letter, and I was able to use that to get things moving. So thank you, Raul. You're a lifesaver. But this
Mhm.
process took me a long time. But yes, we just assume this is something that works. Now I will admit, that was a little bit of technicality there on what you were saying, Raul. Okay, like the water with the vinegar and then you flush it. Okay, yes, but for a first-time home buyer, they don't even know where to flush it, right? And I don't know if we have
Yes,
the time to really go into details, but I mean, it takes a little
it
bit
seems
more
it
knowledge
it seems
than
it seems
yeah.
very obvious to me because we're talking about it every single time,
Yeah,
right? But for the people who
right.
doesn't or who is not familiar, so your system is based in 3 elements: your condenser outside, your coil inside, and either a furnace or a handler inside,
Mhm.
right? So that's the closed loop to make your house either cold or heat, right? So because the coil is inside and the coil is designed to absorb that humidity out of the environment, it sweats the water, right? So that water has to go somewhere. So there's a drain attached to the actual coil that goes from the coil either to the bathroom, and then there's another secondary drain pan that has a PVC that goes from there to outside through the attic or
Hmm.
through the closet, right?
So you want me to
Because
show a picture?
yeah, because temperature is probably hotter, like maybe 100 degrees here in Texas, and humidity levels are high. So those are kind of the perfect conditions to create bacteria. So that bacteria grows inside PVC. So as a homeowner, you can either go to the closet and there's a PVC line that can get blocked and the water doesn't circulate through it. So that there's when you apply the actually vinegar and the half cup water, right, to make that bacteria to kill that bacteria so it can flush. Yeah. And the same thing happened in the attic, right? In the attic, you have that as well. So you can do that in the attic as well.
Yeah. I've got some photos if you guys
yes, and I can attest to that. That's something. Right.
So let me say one thing also about the home warranty, Carlos. I did not know this until I started with Austin 101. You can actually bear this in mind, like keep this in the back of your head. You can actually go ahead after you put the warranty request in, and then like let's say Raul verify that it needs to get replaced. And if they're taking too long, you can actually have Raul replace it and submit for reimbursement. I didn't know this. So we've actually been doing that with quite a few of our warranties that we have with Austin 101.
Nice.
Yeah, so we reach out to the supervisors. We go above everybody else's head and we get
I like that.
Nice.
All right. So that's a lot of. I mean, we honestly, yeah, I had a live with you, Raul, in the past, and it took us a full hour just to go into just the HVAC, the AC, and all that. But it is a lot of information. We'll get back to you, Raul, on maybe how they can reach out to you and what are some of the recommendation schedule maintenance, right, that we could do. Mm-hmm. So let me move over to Colin. Colin, I see. Let me start sharing some of the pictures that you have here. I think some of these relate to the HVAC, correct?
Yeah. So I was going to pull this up so that this is the drain line system that Raul was talking to us about. So when you go up into your attic, you're going to see something like this. This could also be in a closet, but then when you get a little bit closer to the part that actually cools the house, these are your primary and secondary drain lines. And these little openings right here, here, and here are the ones where you want to put that vinegar water solution down. Yeah, so let me...
Now, quick question. Could they be wrong actually? What would happen if they tried, if it looks a little bit different on their end and they're not really sure? I mean, what could happen if they pour it, the vinegar with water in the wrong place? Or they could also use Clorox, right?
Yeah. You probably want to dilute it, but yes. So the good thing is that correct me if I'm wrong, Raul, because you've probably seen it all. Now, every single home I've seen, these drain lines either go directly into this drain pan, or they go to the bottom of a sink, a drain in a sink, or they go to the exterior of the home. So because of that.
So yeah, the primary comes from the coil. It goes to the sink for city code. And the secondary always goes outside over a window. Oh. And the reason it's over in a window is because if you're having dinner or lunch, you can actually see the drip, and that means that the secondary is full of water.
Oh wow!
And that's your last defense, because after that, it's going to be in the attic, and you can have problems with your roof, right? But by city code, always you're going to see it in the left or right side of the house over a window.
I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Okay. And it's very important that they actually, do this maintenance, because when that pan gets, when the drain line gets clogged, then that pan will be full of water. And most of the inspections I've seen from Colin and all that, I mean, we see rusted pans, and that's just because at one point it was sweating so much, or there was some kind of flooding or something happened, and it caused the pan to actually rust. I mean, this is typically an issue with two-story homes, right? When you have these, or most of the homes that have these units on the attic space. Like on my house, it's on the attic. And if it were to flood or something get clogged, I will have a big problem there. Right, Colin?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it can cause a lot of damage. Most of the time it's very slow, and so people don't notice for a long time, and that's how it causes a lot of damage. It's very slow over that long period of time, causing more damage than what you would be able to see if it was, and because it's most of the time it's hidden, you know. So
okay. All right, Leila. And I call your name just as you're stepping away now.
The dog. Go ahead.
It's so good. By the way, you want to show us your shirt for a second here?
Oh yeah, my Austin 101 shirt. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Austin 101 representing here.
Got a QR code back there.
There's a QR code. There we go. All right, Leila. What are some? So you manage over 220 plus doors. What are some of the? How often do you get calls from tenants? And I'm sure like pretty much every day. And what are some of the most common things that you see?
So they don't stop. This is my PM phone. It's lit up because literally I'm getting line messages right now. I am not your normal property manager. I am almost 24/7. That's just me. But the most common ones that I get are garbage disposal being backed up. And the reset buttons, Colin might, clue one on this, that reset button actually doesn't work. It never reset anything. It's a false sense of security. And all that just takes is an Allen wrench, and move it around, you're good to go. And then of course, toilets being backed up, because people don't know there's actually two different plungers. There's a kitchen plunger and there's a toilet plunger. There's two different ones. And then when your sinks get backed up, your bathroom sink, your bathtub gets backed up, tenants get really upset with me because, well, why have to be charged for that? And I was like, well, it wasn't the owner's hair going down the drain. It was yours. Not, the owner didn't do it. But I do try to offer them very simple solutions, to get it fixed. Again, I'm always, I work a very delicate balance between owner and tenant. Like, I try to, be fair to both of them. So I just recently had a toilet handle that broke. Hey, you know what? Cool. Not your fault. You want to fix it yourself? Fine. I order the part for the tenant. It cost me $11.33. It cost the owner $11.33. So that's the most common ones that I get. Of course, when it comes to HVAC, I do not walk them through anything at all. We'll call out, a tech, like Raul, we'll call out somebody, to come fix it. But when the techs get there, I always have them take pictures of the filter. Because that's the first thing. Like, I want to see a picture of that. And I don't per se charge them for it, but I remind them that if you continue to fail to change your filters, this is going to keep happening. And if it keeps happening, I'm going to have to charge you. That's plain and simple. And so most of our homeowners, we do ask twice a year, like Raul said, the cleaning of the coils. We asked, do you want it done? The vast majority of them want them done because, of course, that's one of the most expensive, maintenance repairs that a homeowner has or an investor has. So that's the most common ones. The other one, of course, is clogged up toilet. We've pulled out toys, and my contractors take pictures. Just recently, I had a home that has been rented for 4 years straight, and they cleared the lines, and it was nothing but toilet wipes, Q-tips, and grease. And I'm like, you're responsible.
Yeah.
Well, the previous tenant, no.
All right, so it's so difficult, and yes, being an investor, we got several investors here on this call. It's something, right? You have this home that's appreciating in value, the tenant is paying the mortgage, and all these benefits, tax benefits. We can talk about investing all day long, but there are some headaches, and there are some things that you have to deal with, and not everybody can be an investor, right? This is not for everybody. I do it because this is my line of work and I'm used to it and I like it. I love it, right? But it's not for everybody. I know Raul is an investor, Colin is an investor, and myself is an investor. So it's like Leila will be an investor this year. So it's it's just so difficult. It's just so difficult to really be able to enforce these things on the tenants, right? Being able, so I pay for the filters, the AC filters. Most other property management or actually other owners might not do it. I do it. Why? Because I want to make sure that the AC is working properly, right? It's a lot less expensive to keep everything clean than have to come back, a few years later and have to replace the whole thing, or a bigger expense, right? So plus the tenant will live better, on a better filter home, I guess, But the problem is I do get the filters, and then I drop them off. Sometimes, maybe at the beginning I was doing the installations myself, but then I kind of trust the tenants that they're doing it, and then I drop it off at their doors, and then I say, hey, please just drop off a couple of air filters, make sure that you change them. But how do I really know that they did it, right? It's how do I really know that they're doing some of these things that common sense, right? Like the AC, the vinegar and the water, right? Flushing these lines. I mean, I can teach them how to do it, and I can show them how to do it. But I mean, chances of them actually doing that is a different story. So on investment homes is gonna be a different story, okay? And there are different challenges there on investors. But on your typical home buyer, I mean, everything is under your control. You just have to know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, right? So Colin, all right, so Colin is an inspector. You see all these things all the time that could be, resolved by just proper maintenance, that could have been avoided, right? And like flashing, like when you get a new roof, make sure they install the proper flash on the roof, right? The flashing, and that prevents, further damages to the wood and the fascia and all that. So what are some of the things that are very common that you see on the inspection reports and that could be prevented by just if the owner just knew about it?
Yeah, so I've got a few photos here of just some of the most common things we see on inspection reports. This one here is a roof. Obviously, we've got the shingles here. We do catch shingle damage a lot of times when we get a storm coming through. You'll see some of these that have flipped up. They get a line right across the shingle, and you can tell that way that they've been flipped up or damaged. And obviously, you probably want to have a roofer come and look at those. But this is a really easy one that a lot of people can see. Right here, you see this. We call this a roof jack. Or a boot. And you'll see where this is a plumbing stack coming through the roof. This boot is not sealed here. And it's a really good idea to have them sealed with a caulking or some sort of a roofing sealant. We call these out on probably every home that we see. But this is very common even on new builds. So, and this is something that, I would say even a lot of people who are DIYers could get up there if they're comfortable with getting on their roof. They could probably even take care of this themselves. So as far as like the exterior goes, we see damaged trim all the time, and this is just a lack of maintenance here. It's very easy to go out and replace wood, repaint it, and then re-caulk these areas around these windows. This is really great at preventing water getting into the exterior wall and then causing rot and mold on those exterior walls. And I've got a couple of other examples here of areas that are very common for this same kind of thing. Here we've got a transition between stone and brick on an exterior wall. And this, you can start to see where the mortar in here is just starting to get a little bit of cracking going on. This is totally common and normal. We usually don't think of these as being a structural issue until they get very wide or, moving horizontally across the wall. And so these, we just tell people, look, if this is a mortar improvement issue, we just go in there and re-tuck point the brick, patch up that mortar, and then we can move on. And then this is similar area here. We've got brick and stucco. These are two different types of masonry as well. And sometimes it's actually better to do caulking in these areas. So in this one, I would recommend caulking. It's easier to put on for a lot of people, and then it moves with that joint when the two different materials move as well. This is another.
Are those what are called the?
Sorry,
are those the expansion joints? Are those the expansion joints?
This is not an expansion joint. This one is right here. So you'll also see these in the middle of stone walls. Like if the stone was the wall was 100% stone, or if you had the wall that was 100% brick. An expansion joint looks like this, where it's a complete stop of the material and then a restart of the material. And then they will fill that either with mortar, and a lot of times they'll fill it with like some sort of a sealant, like caulking. Usually it'll be clear or white or something like that. So yeah, those are all really good areas to pay attention to make sure that if you've got any gaps, any holes, any cracking, reseal that so that we don't get the water in those areas, right?
Okay.
Cool. So this is a really good one for termites. We don't like seeing a bunch of overgrown foliage all over the house. So it's a really great idea to keep our trees, our bushes, and all of our shrubs trimmed back at least 12 inches away from the walls. And then for roofs, we recommend that if you've got a tree overhanging the house, we don't want to see that within 3 feet of the roof, because a lot of times that the trees will move even that full 3 feet, and they'll scrape up the roof, they'll tear apart the shingles, or they'll damage them at least. I've got images here. This is the exterior coil that Raul was talking about. This is the exterior part of the air conditioner. This is where you want to spray these fins here. And that's what Carlos was talking about when he got all that junk out of one of his condenser coils. This is where it's coming out of. Right here at the bottom of this coil is where you're going to get all that stuff from. But just spraying this with a good high pressure water hose. You don't even need like a pressure washer. And that's it. But this is the... And
making sure that it's level too, right, Raul? Because if it's out of level, then it causes further issue, right? It doesn't really work properly.
Yeah. There's a motor in there, and that has to be level. If not, those fan blades hit the condenser, and they can get damaged.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And this is the interior portion of an air conditioner. So this is right here would be your furnace and air handler. And on this side is going to be your coil. Now this one's a heat pump like Raul was talking about earlier. So the coil on this side actually does both the heating and the cooling. Okay. And then the blower is on this side. It moves the air around the house. So in some cases, we would have filters that are on the unit in the attic. And sometimes we find them on the walls, inside the home, or the ceilings inside the home. But of course, every house is a little bit different. And then this is another good example here of those two pipes that you're going to see where you can put the cleaning solution to make sure that your drain lines on those air conditioners don't get clogged up. And that was the image we were looking at earlier. Keeping these units as clean is really, really important, not just for making them function well, but for keeping the health of all in the house good as well. That's a dead rat in that one. That one's very dirty. So like plumbing stuff, our showers, our baths, our sinks, these all need to be caulked. This caulking here on this one is a really great idea to touch stuff up like that. We have tiles like this. A lot of times they'll start cracking on the mortar. We'll get some water penetration there. It's fairly simple. Even DIYers can start learning how to do this, mixing up the tile grout and refreshing it, or at least putting caulking in it so that you don't get that water penetration, because I've seen some very ugly walls where, they do some remodeling work, and back behind these walls, There's tons of mold. There's tons of water damage. It's very expensive, and it's not pretty. Keeping in line with the plumbing, if you see water in your sink, if you fill up your sink and then you notice that, especially from the hot water, if you notice a funny smell or you notice discoloration, so either like really white and cloudy or this kind of a reddish brownish tint to the color of the water, you probably want to call a plumber out and have them look at the water heater.
Sediment.
Cloudy water is almost always due to sediment in the bottom of the water tank, and that can be easily taken care of with a flush, which is part of your normal maintenance, and you want to do that at least once a year for your tank style water heater. You also need to flush and rinse a tankless water heater. That's something that a lot of people don't know. They think that tankless water heaters don't need maintenance at all. Couldn't be farther from the truth. So if you see funny color water,
all right, Colin.
Yeah.
All right. You need to go into details on that, flushing the water heaters, because that's something that a lot of people don't know how to do that. Can you walk us through the process of actually like just doing that?
Yes. So on a water heater, you're going to have your inlet ports usually at the top. And on the bottom, it's going to look like you have a little hose spigot. It looks like your exterior water faucets. You're going to first hook up a water hose to that and then run that water hose outside, usually to the street. I don't recommend flooding your backyard with 40 to 50 gallons of water, but I've seen people do it. And then you turn off the water. There's going to be a valve on the cold water side of the water heater. And it should be the only valve on top of the water heater, okay? It'll be on one of the plumbing lines. It won't be on the water heater itself. So you turn that off, and then you very carefully open the valve on the bottom of the water heater. That's going to allow all the water in the tank to drain out. Once that's done, we leave that drain line open, and then we open the cold water valve again to let cold, fresh water pour into the tank. And this is the part of the maintenance process we call flushing. So we're draining the tank, and then we're adding new water in to actually hopefully stir up some of that sediment, and then flush it out that drain line as well. Does that make sense?
It does.
It makes sense. And go ahead, Layla. Go ahead.
So, I have a love-hate war with water softeners. So, when water softeners get clogged, that means that the home has a reduced, PSI. Mm-hmm. What are your sentiments about water softeners in Austin?
They can be good and bad at the same time, and let me explain that. So, water softeners are not really filters. And that's a common misconception. People think that, I have a water softener, it filters my water and it makes my water clean and wonderful. Well, it makes the water feel really great to our skin because we're adding salt to the water. That's what a water softener does in general. And so because we're adding salt to the water, we're not really removing anything from the water unless your water softener is special and has a filter attached to it. And usually that's not what I see, right? So
didn't know that. Okay.
So it's very common knowledge that we in Central Texas have hard water, which means that we already have minerals and things inside our water. So what happens when we put a water softener on? We're adding more stuff to the water. This is why you see dishwashers that have a whole bunch of white film all over the inside of the dishwasher. The soap doors get stuck and they won't move.
Yeah.
You get pipes that get clogged up and a whole load of other things. So basically, if we're having a problem with the water softener, it's a really good idea to talk to the water softener installer. Say, hey, is my unit working okay? Because that's not usually like DIY work. That's pretty technical work.
Right.
So yeah, but I'm glad you brought that up because that's a really common misconception that water softeners do not filter water. And if you really want to prevent long-term like caking and getting all like pipes clogged and stuff like that, a whole home water filtration system is a good idea. And they usually can be installed in conjunction with this water softener.
So let me ask you one more question.
Yeah.
So I'm new to Central Austin. I'm from Houston, so we don't have it's not a big thing down there. I've seen that hot water heaters have this like contraption, and it looks like a filter. Is that what that filter is? Is to filter out the minerals?
Oh, are you talking about the little tank that sits beside it or above it or something?
On top of it, yes.
That's for the pressure, right? That's for the pressure.
That's called an expansion tank. Yeah.
Ooh.
So that's there as a safety device.
Okay.
If we ever have too much pressure in the system, it protects the water heater and it protects a lot of the other lines inside the house from that pressure that's too high.
Okay, so it's not to filter out anything. So that would be the water stuff. Okay, well, that's a good thing for me to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. So I see it a lot
course.
in my homes. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm kind of regretting not putting
from
water heater in here now.
From personal experience, I have flushed these water heaters on one of I purchased a home, and then I went ahead and flushed the water heater, and man, that water was coming out, and I put my hand right where the water was coming out. I mean, it wasn't that hot anymore, and I could feel all this sediment hitting my hand. Like I could I started catching some of these particles, and I was like, wow. There were so many of them, like so much of it. It's like, man, like I'm sure these previous owners never did it. It felt like they never did it because there was so much coming out, and I was like, wow. And then I told my tenant, yeah, make sure that you do this once a year, right? We recommend flushing the water heater once a year. Okay, all right. Raul.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. All right. Tell me what else should we know? Sorry, my English is a little bit slow. It cuts off. But what else should we know about ACs? How often should we change the filters? What are some of the type of filters? What do you really recommend the really expensive filters, or should we go with the cheapest? I heard from somebody say a new builder said go with the least expensive filters, and they don't even have something because apparently they cause restriction. They don't force the unit as much, but then do they really clean? Like, what would you recommend?
Well, it depends on the application, right? There's people who has pets, a home that you need a better filtration because all that hair is everywhere, right? So, but MERV 11, MERV 13, MERV 13, I think is fine. It's not too high, not too small. You have odors in the house, so like I say, somebody smoke too much, or things like that. You want to replace your filter more often. We have the 1 inch, which is kind of the regular. Most of the furnace and air handlers had that. You want a little more protection, you got the 4 inch, which is the 20 by 25 1 inch, and usually you replace those every 3 months depending on the application. But again, it depends of you, right? It depends how many people is in the house, but it's always for sure to choose something like MERV 13. It's kind of in the middle, right? And just take it from there because it depends what do you have in your house. But now, a lot of people is worry about allergies, odors in the house. So now there's UV lights. They can help with that. There's ionizers. There's a product out there called Clean Effects from Trane that helps with all that.
Really?
Dust free. So there's a really good products that help you to breathe better in the house. Now houses are very insulated, right? So you have your family inside the house, and think about it. I mean, you're breathing the same air capsulated in your house. So you need
does the HVAC filter, does the AC filter put some new air from the
Well,
outside,
there's a
or it
fresh
never really does that?
there's fresh air that needs to come in for sure, right? There's fresh air that needs to
Okay.
come in. So some houses have that already, right? But there are solutions out there that it help to clean that air better. There's a product called Dust Free, which is like a UV light, and what it does is just energize the dust particles and make them so heavy that they fall to the floor, and you're not breathing that in your lungs, right? So it's just clean, um, clean air, right? So it's instead being in the table, it's in your lungs, right? So that helps you a lot. So I recommend everybody to have at least the regular UV light in your system to help with any mold when in mildew grow, right? And usually 4 inches filters work pretty good. And if you could step it up a little bit more, like those products, dust free, is really good as well. I mean, it's really good. I mean,
I've
you
never,
bring in good air, right?
I've never heard of the UV light. This is new to me. So what is?
So the UV light is it kills the frequency of the light kills the bacteria. So there's multiple infrared lights, right? Like gamma lights, UV light. So there's a frequency of light that kills some bacteria. So now manufacturers find out a way to install those lights inside, like perfect, like inside the coil, and it kills the bacteria.
Oh,
It
okay,
kills the
okay.
bacteria inside the coil. So you're bringing better. This actually helped your coil, so there's no bacteria growing there. But there's another product called Dust Free, who actually clean your environment, right? So
I have never. This is the first time I'm hearing about this, and thank you, Raul, because I'm in an apartment and I've owned 2 homes. So I went to go grab this is like my normal little AC filter that the apartments
Yeah.
give to me. And I change these out literally like twice a week because I have, I've got 2 toddler dogs, which I've got these. And so they're constantly in and outside of the backyard.
Yeah.
And so I use the generic ones that they give to me. But this what you're explaining is new to me. I've never heard
Yeah.
of it before.
So let's say that you're cooking something and that smell stays in the house for hours. So
Mm.
if you have one of these solutions, UV solution, it actually ionizes those particles and it goes away in 20 minutes.
What?
Wow.
Yeah,
They're incredible.
they're amazing.
Hey, that's really good. Really good when you're selling a home. Really good when you're selling a home, right?
Oh,
There are
yes.
people.
Yeah.
My sellers are still living in the property, and sometimes I walk into the home to do an open house, and I can smell everything that they just cook. I'm like, oh, not very.
Yeah.
I mean, it smells good, but might not be the smell that you're expecting. When you're walking into an open house. Anyways, so Raul, how often should the HVAC be serviced or the AC? How often should we be calling or
we
have
recommend
you have
it.
these maintenance plans, right?
Yeah,
Where
we recommend
your
it
company
twice.
goes like twice a year or something like that.
Yeah, twice a month. Yeah, twice a year. Like I said, we get it ready for spring. You get it ready for summer, and for fall, you get it ready for winter. And we go through all these checkpoints that we need to look into it. But again, I mean, if you like your car and you do the oil change to your car, I mean, take care of your AC. It's one of those things that it's so easy just to schedule a visit. Instead, try to call somebody when it's this type of weather or is really hot, because first it's going to be really expensive,
Yep.
and second, you're going to have trouble scheduling people.
Yeah.
So be proactive. I think it's the
Right.
best.
So Raul, just so we can kind of quote
Okay.
out some generic prices, not your prices, but the tune-ups, as we call them, HVAC tune-ups, run roughly about like 100 to like 140, 150, if I'm not mistaken, twice a year.
Yes.
And that doesn't include repairs. That's not.
Yeah, that's
maintenance.
yeah. But some programs offer discounts if you're a member, right? You
Mhm.
become a member this club to be for us to go out, and like for example, we do 15% discounts and things like that. So some people out there do the same thing.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that for the new
Highly
homeowners.
recommended.
Yeah. Oh yeah, highly recommended. For
Highly,
sure.
highly recommended. Yeah. Colin. All right. We talked about the AC, one of the biggest expenses, on a home ownership path, right?
Yeah.
When a client, a buyer is buying a house, I tell them roof, HVAC, foundation. So
Yep.
let's talk about foundation a little bit. What are some of the tips that I just learned this? Well, not really learned this. I knew about it, but you made it very clear just the last time we met at one of my clients' inspections, and that was irrigating the foundation, right? So putting this water hose, this little tiny water hose around the foundation. Can you kind of go a little bit in detail? What are some of the things that you recommend?
Yes. So a lot of people talk about gutters, and I think that's kind of a start if you're already having like basically not very good drainage around the house. And that's just my opinion. You could talk to a lot of foundation experts and they're probably going to tell you, oh, you have to have gutters. You have to have gutters. So the way I understand this, when I see homes that have foundation problems, I actually go out there with my high precision altimeter and I take measurements. What I see with these homes that actually do have problems are we've got extra dry soil or we've got extra wet soil and it's not consistent all the way around the house.
Got it.
So that's the trick in my mind is we're trying to keep consistent moisture levels, whether it's dry or wet or somewhere in between. We want that to be the same outside the foundation, all the way around it and underneath the foundation. Because what a lot of people don't think about is that there is soil underneath your foundation as well. And it is always at a certain moisture level. We have what we call expansive soil here in Texas, and that means it's mostly clay, right? Mm-hmm. What happens when you get clay wet? It turns into mud.
Yep.
What happens when you dry clay out? It turns into a pot, right? It turns into a brick, something that's really dry or really rough and rigid. It's not flexible at all. So, and then you take that same thing and you put a little bit of water on this side of it. Well, this side blows up and this side stays small. Okay. So I'm explaining all this to help you understand if we keep moisture levels around the foundation all the same, all at the same time, that means that we know that the stuff outside the foundation and then going underneath the foundation as well, we're trying to keep that all at the same moisture level so we don't get any expansion over here and contraction over here, because it's that expansion over here and contraction down on this side that raises the foundation here and then lets the foundation sink on this side. Is that making a lot of sense?
Yep.
Sorry. The only way to tell if you're not keeping it in balance is when we see cracks. So
that's not true.
Okay, so explain this.
There's a lot of other ways, yeah.
So explain this to me. So I have an investor who I just went to go visit his home in Elgin the other day. It's a 2-story home, brand new, less than 1 year being lived in. Right. And right when I walked in, I was like, oh, what is,
you got a lot, you got cracking going on. Yeah.
And it's a 2-story house. Like I said, it's brand new. It has a sprinkler system. So how can me or the owner, try to prevent this? Like, what do we put the sprinkler system on, or how do I know what to do? Because right. As a property manager and as an investor, you're not at your property, every month looking at it. So what are the clues to look for to tell the tenants, hey, make sure to watch out for this or that?
Definitely. I'll first start with those little clues to look for, and then I'll go into the hose and around the foundation and the sprinkler system that you asked about directly. Okay. So first, that the cracking, usually it's going to be diagonal cracking above your windows, doors. It's going to be something really large going across the ceiling in a diagonal way. Okay. I'm not talking about the small hairline that's a straight line. I'm not talking about those that are, right next to the corners and they're in a really straight, fine line. Usually that's just settling cracking. We don't normally have to worry about stuff like that. If it's large and it's on a diagonal on some wall or ceiling, usually those are the ones that we start worrying about.
Okay.
We can see that stuff on the inside of the house. On the outside of the house, we're looking at cracking that's horizontal or diagonal on an exterior wall, right? Mm-hmm. Those are signs for the exterior walls. Going back to inside, doors and windows that do not open and shut properly, okay. Right? Those can also be signs, but not always. The more of them you have, then you go, okay, now we've definitely got a sign. Like if you've got 5 doors in the house that are just, you go to shut them and they stick and they don't latch, that can be a big sign, right? Okay. So now those are all signs that we've kind of gone too far and that we need repairs, right? So let's get to the preventive maintenance thing, because man, that's the old adage is correct. A pound of prevention, or I mean, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of repair later on, right? It's so much more expensive to do those repairs than it is to actually take some preventative maintenance stuff. So let's talk about sprinkler systems real quick. Mm-hmm. Those can do a pretty good job of keeping the whole yard at a certain moisture level, as long as 1, we don't turn them off, right? And 2, we run them for long enough. And I think those are the things that we're probably not doing, or we are doing. I see a lot of Carlos. We've had this conversation before. They turned the sprinkler system off in the middle of the summer when they put the house up for sale. They moved out, they turned the sprinkler system off, and then what do we have? We have the soil line pulling away from the foundation. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden the foundation is not being properly supported. And now we know that the soil here is drying out. So what happens underneath the foundation? Underneath the foundation is probably also drying out, right? So we need to add moisture back to the soil using that sprinkler system to keep the moisture levels all the way around the house at the exact same level the whole time, right? And then this is where a soaker hose comes in. Even if you do have a sprinkler system, like Carlos, where I was telling you this the other day, a couple of my rental properties don't have sprinkler systems. Ooh. So what do? What we do is we go and buy a soaker hose at the hardware store, and we buy a little electronic timer that goes on your exterior faucet. Plug in that timer, and then you plug in your hose to that, and then you get enough hose that it'll go all the way around the entire house. 1 hour a day. It does not take much. And what you're going to do is you're going to ensure that now we're locking in moisture. Whatever was in the foundation, it's going to stay there, and the sides of the house are no longer going to get so dry that they're pulling away from the house. It's that simple a lot of times. That's what we call a watering schedule. So if you hear some professional talk about schedule, that's it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a lot of good information. Thank you, Colin.
That's very good, Colin.
Okay, now very useful. None of my homes have that water hose around the foundation, but they do have sprinkler systems. But yeah, it's something I need to really consider, to prevent further, issues with the foundation. Or we're in this winter, freeze, I guess. And the weather is really cold outside. We talked about how it affects the furnace, and now you, Raul, must be swamped with requests right now for things breaking in people's home. But let's talk about some of the best practices as a resident. Okay, so all right, so we're gonna talk about what to do when this freezing weather comes, right? And we had this a couple of years back, and everything was shut down for days and days.
Last year,
people's water burst a few years ago, right? It happens every year, but basically I do see the tankless water heater on the outside of the homes, right? The tankless water heaters, they burst as well because they're with direct contact with the freeze and the cold weather. And my home has a tankless water heater on the outside. Thankfully, nothing really happened. But my neighbor's home, his water heater burst, and all the water, it flooded the house, right? So anyway, okay, so what are some of the things, the best practices to do? Okay, so I put down a list here of small things, that came to mind. So one of them, to be ready, right, and locate and know the location of your unit's water shutoff valve in advance, right? If something like this happened where the water heater burst or some other pipes burst, you have to act quickly and know exactly where the water heater is. During the holidays, my dad was helping me. We were doing some repairs here inside the house, and then we were changing some parts of the shower, and I never shut down the water because I didn't think it was really needed. And then it turned out that the pressure actually pushed out something. I wasn't expecting that to happen. So something was pushed out, and all the water just shoot out. Now this is in the shower, right? So at least it's got a place to go, the water. But I had to rush. My dad was like blocking the water from coming out, right? Like just redirecting the water, I guess. And I rushed to the outside, and I had to get a tool, and then I closed the main water shutoff valve, and problem fixed. Of course, my dad was all wet.
Yeah, the key word is the tool, and so name the tool that you need, and a lot of renters don't have that tool, So for investors or first-time even homeowners, what's the name? I know the name of the tool. I'm going to let you tell the name of the tool, but the name of the tool is
It's a key.
Yeah, it's just some kind of key.
Right.
So I use whatever I found. The closest thing that was on my. So let me share here what.
Yes,
it's some kind of special
there it is.
long thing that you just stick in, and then you just turn, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, exactly. Yeah. So a lot of homeowners
yeah, they don't have that, right? You don't have that, and they don't have it ready available, or they don't even know where the water shutoff is, right? So in the event of a leak in your unit, right? Yeah, turn the valve indicating below in your unit to be perpendicular with the pipe. So basically, it should be pointing where the flow of water is, where the pipe direction is, and it should probably have a little error. And then you just turn that perpendicular to block the water flow, and that's what I did, and it worked. Okay, but man, I had to act fast because everything was, and my wife was like, "What happened?" Anyways, fun story. So another thing with the cold weather now. So Raul, can you attest to this? Is this something that you recommend? I found this that set your thermostat to 60 degrees or more.
60.
And be sure to 65 or more, and basically just to kind of remain from freezing inside the house. Is that correct? Is that what you recommend?
Yeah, that's like the general recommendation. Yeah, but like I was saying, for heat pumps, you just have to be changed. Colin mentioned here, heat strips also is called heat in thermostat.
EM heat, so it's emergency heat is what that's short for.
Yeah,
that's new to me. Okay.
So yes, you need to make sure you enable that so that heat pump doesn't work too hard and it doesn't get frozen. But yes, yeah.
Good deal. So
Awesome.
I just gotta go leave.
All right, I got another.
Because my heat, I'm really cold right now. I had my heat set too low at 68, and I was like, "Oh my god!" That's why I just got to go turn the heater on real quick. So, well, thank you guys. Like, it was really, really good today. Like, I learned a lot. I was supposed to be informing people, but I actually learned more than I think I informed.
There's nothing wrong with that. A day, if I don't learn something in a day, that's not a good day for me. And there's usually not a day that I don't learn something. So
all right.
Good days.
Thank you, Carlos.
That's awesome. All right. I know timing of the essence here. We already kind of went over, but let me just show the last few tips that I got. Open the kitchen cabinets, right? To expose the pipes inside, like the drains and all that. That really helps from freezing as well. This I hear all the time, right? But sometimes I don't really do it. I feel like I'm wasting a lot of water, but I guess it doesn't have to be a lot. I mean, it could just be a very slow flow of water. I think it really helps. You guys, we do this when it's when it's that cold.
I do that in the outside.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean inside, if you
On
got
the
that furnace going on or air
Okay.
handler going on, it should be fine.
Yeah, that's my take. Is if you've got sufficient heat in the house, then you're probably fine. When it's vacant, that's when I would be dripping the
Right there.
faucets, interior and exterior, so that
Yeah.
at least you've got a little bit of water movement, and if the power goes off, you're not there to notice that at that residence. Then you've got the security of the water dripping, so that you're not getting the pipes freezing.
Yep.
Yeah, I had
Great.
18
All right,
vacant
Lila.
freeze. So I had 18 vacant homes during the last freeze, and Andy was on vacation, my assistant, and all of them like, can you go? I'm like, I can't. Like, it just I can't. I'm sorry, it's just but knock on wood, whatever. All my homes were safe, so
It's good.
All right, Lila. Any last words? Why should people use Austin 101 Realty as the property management?
because I'm always on.
That's a good point. That's a really
always
good
on.
point.
I mean, I've got
24/7.
in my personal phone as well. I'm constantly working. I'm 24/7. It's not normal for most management companies, but me as a property manager, 25 years of experience, I'm always there for the owners. I don't turn off. I don't stop working. I'm like Carlos. Like, we just energize a bunny. We just keep going, So
Go.
Yeah. But yeah, I've got homeowners who text me at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Of course, this phone is on silent, but as soon as I get up, I'm responding. So that's me. That's me.
Awesome. Highly
24/7.
recommend the Austin 101 team, property management. Highly recommended. Colin, any last words? How can we find you here? I'm putting your information here as well on the screen. Are you always on as well or not?
No, okay. So I have
you got a small family
daughters.
too.
Yes, I have a very small family. So, but we use the latest technology, techniques, and training to get our clients the best information that's possible, whether they're buying or selling. So that's the simplest way I can put it. If you guys are looking for more information about your house, give us a call. We're happy to help you out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I mean, Colin, he's always been there for my clients. Highly recommended. Since I joined BNI, there are many options as a real estate agent, many options for inspections, but very happy with his services, his knowledge, and I keep learning all the time from Colin. So I don't get tired of talking to Colin all the time. But that's
Same goes for you, man.
Great
That's
job,
why.
Right? But Raul, I want to bring you into my vendor circle. I didn't know about you. I didn't know.
Yes. I'm pretty sure Carlos can send me your information. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But talk more
Yes.
about your services, please.
Yes,
Talk more about
Raul.
your-
Any last words?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you, man. I really enjoyed this. I mean, I definitely need to do 101 with Colin and Lila.
Right.
And we we do residential most of the time, very light commercial and HVAC. As you guys know, Carrie, she's very passionate about helping people. We're trying to do great relationships, right? We're not doing in the transactional. We're not working in the transactional world. So we're trying to help people in the community, be part of the community, and get play together here too. So yeah, thank you, man.
Good deal.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. Thanks for joining again. My name is Carlos Cruz. It was a pleasure. Thank you for staying a little bit longer. There is so much information to talk about. We could be talking about real estate all day long, honestly. but we have to respect. We have to respect people's time. So you can find me online. You can find me, on my Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn as well, Instagram. Just search for Carlos Cruz Realtor, and you should be able to see me. So once again, thank you guys for coming. It was a pleasure, and I see you guys on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
guys.
great one.
Bye. You too.